Well, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. We just landed from El Salvador. Pretty short flight, no Wi-Fi, one of those weird moments when you're totally out of touch. By the time we landed, things seemed to have changed dramatically in Washington. It was at least the fourth day in a row that has happened, where all of a sudden everything you thought you knew about politics in D.C. changed in just an instant. This time, of course, it was the news that the White House Chief of Staff, Reince Priebus, was out to be replaced by General Kelly of the Department of Homeland Security. The president first announced this change in a tweet, saying this, quote, "I am pleased to inform you that I have just named General Secretary John F. Kelly as White House Chief of Staff. He is a great American and a great leader. John has also done a spectacular job at Homeland Security. He's been a true star of my administration." The president then made this statement.
Reince is a good man. John Kelly will do a fantastic job. General Kelly has been a star, done an incredible job thus far, respected by everybody, a great, great American. Reince Priebus, a good man. Thank you very much.
Will Kelly make an effective chief of staff? Everyone's hoping for it, but that may be less important right now than the perception that he'll bring stability and order to the place. The White House needs that more than anything at the moment. The most powerful branch of the world's most powerful government seemed to devolve this week to a state of nature, a war of all against all. It was chaos for a minute, and chaos is always the worst thing. People need order and continuity. They need to believe that the world they'll wake up to tomorrow will bear some resemblance to the one they're living in right now. When they begin to doubt that, they become anxious and crazy, and things begin to fall apart. You've seen it all over the world, and that's the last thing we need here. Our political system is fragile enough. Bad things could happen. If you can't feel that, you haven't been living here. So let's hope the upswing begins with General Kelly this afternoon. For more on what's going on, Fox chief political anchor and special report host Bret Baier joins us. Bret, how did this happen, to the extent we know?
Well, I think it happened over a number of days, Tucker. To hear Reince Priebus tell the story, he resigned yesterday, Thursday. The tweet obviously took everybody by surprise, but apparently the president had been talking to General Kelly over a number of weeks to look into being the chief of staff. I think they're looking for order, for continuity, as you said, and General Kelly has a history of doing that. We had a former Defense Secretary, Leon Panetta, former chief of staff himself to Bill Clinton, on the show earlier, and Kelly was Panetta's aide at the Pentagon, senior aide, and he believes in his mind as a Democrat that he's comforted by this choice and called it the best choice that Donald Trump has made as president.
Yeah, I mean, someone who can get all the fire going in the same direction, like outside the building. One of the key questions, it seems to me, is to what extent does he have command of the White House staff? Will the communications director, for example, report to him or still directly to the president? Do we know?
Now, that is the question, Tucker, and we don't know. We're hearing he has a lot of authority, but will Anthony Scaramucci report to the chief of staff, or will he still have a direct line to President Trump? The other question is, how does Jared Kushner, the son-in-law, senior advisor, factor in? Will he also go to General Kelly? What about Ivanka Trump, also a senior advisor and daughter? So I think there are still questions about the order, but we're hearing senior officials say that he has the authority, the trust of the president, and he's going to straighten out this White House.
You'd hate to speculate, but you'd also have trouble believing that the general, who I think is regarded as successful and competent, impressive, would have taken the job without assurances that he'd have the authority to do it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, especially if they've been having the conversation over a number of weeks. He was in a job that he was succeeding at. I mean, the stats were going his way, Department of Homeland Security, and I think, he fell on his sword at the beginning when that executive order kind of backfired. He was the one who went out in front of the press and said, I can do better, and did. So I do think that there was this loyalty factor, and we'll see if the authority falls in. Just one historical context here. 1973, President Nixon turned to Al Haig to become chief of staff when H.R. Haldeman was exited out after Watergate. Al Haig, a former general, 2-star, then promoted to a 4-star, took over to try to run that White House.
Yeah, to bring order out of chaos. So the only criticism I've seen so far has been from Barbara Lee of California, who's usually an outlier, the only person who voted against the invasion of Afghanistan, for example. And she said this is a terrifying indicator of the militaristic direction the White House is moving. But has there been other criticism from Democrats? Has anybody gone after this choice that you've seen?
Not really. I mean, I think it's been pretty quiet. Think about just the messaging, what we've been through. Monday, it's hard to believe, but it was Monday Sean Spicer left. In between there, we've had the new incoming White House communications director that caused his own stir. Then we've had this health care bill that falls apart. We also had a number of events during the week, including in North Korea launching a missile today, an ICBM, Iran, and now you have at the end of the week, and it's only Friday, the White House Chief of Staff stepping down. So it's been quite a journey this week.
I would add that the president also attacked his own attorney general repeatedly during the week.
And the attorney general fired back in El Salvador with you.
So I was talking to someone at the White House just a minute ago, we just landed, who said there was concern there among the people who had come over from the RNC, the Republican National Committee. Reince Priebus, of course, was their guy. He was the chairman of the RNC. And they believe that maybe this suggests a move away from kind of the conventional Washington Republican way of doing things to something else. Do you think they're reading too much into it?
No, I don't. I mean, I think that this health care situation with this vote going down was tremendously disappointing. If you're to believe the story put out that Reince Priebus resigned yesterday, that was before the health care bill fell apart. But possibly there's some timeline issues here, and I think that you have a Republican establishment figure that was in the White House, and if you think about it, this president probably said, let's try it from the outside. And now he's got a lot of outsiders. And the question is, will General John Kelly be up on the domestic political inside, or will Kellyanne Conway or Steve Bannon or Jared Kushner take a more prominent role on that politics track?
Well, that's exactly it. And my last question, I don't know if this is even knowable, but what are his politics, General Kelly? Do we know what he believes, where he would naturally align in the debate going on in the White House?
You know, he's been very loyal to this president. He's worked with both sides of the aisle, as I mentioned, as a senior aide to Leon Panetta and also to Bob Gates. He was a Marine general. He was the commander of Southern Command, 3 tours in Iraq, lost his son in Afghanistan fighting for the country. His ideology and his politics on domestic issues has really never come up. But he is someone who's very accomplished and somebody who likes order, and that possibly is what this White House wants.
Yeah, and that may be the most important thing right now. Bret Baier, thanks a lot for that. Answering all those questions. I appreciate it.